absolutely. Because Celeste is definitely a solid pick, especially when you can follow it up with that Black Feather banner. We were talking earlier about how good Black Feather is into that Celeste, sorry. So Cruel is going to be the decision, which means Catherine is still open.
I mean, Celeste Cruel is like another extremely strong composition just because Celeste provides the range, Cruel provides the peeling. He sits in the bush when the enemy team is trying to engage, and when the enemy engages, he goes on the target, he puts down his weakness stacks, and goes from there on. Glaive is an interesting choice.
I actually really like this lock-in here because think about the fact that they can't ban anything else. They're not going to pick up the Catherine unless they want a CP Lyra or something crazy like that. So why not grab yourself yet another priority pick? It's a way of putting your third priority, putting basically the first pick in most drafts all the way to the last pick, and there's nothing that Dynasty can do about it.
Yeah, the only downside to doing it is now you don't get the option to counter what Dynasty is going to come up with, but they are going to be confident in their own composition. This is one of the things that we talk about every so often is, playing to counter your opponent versus playing to your strengths. Fnatic has chosen to just play to their strengths, and we don't care what you're going to run. This is what we're comfortable with. This is what we are confident can win.
I mean, last thing they can do is still put Glaive in the roam position and get a jungler. Glaive roam versus Celeste works pretty good because if you afterburn into a core collapse, it's almost the same chaining effect of the Catherine Celeste. But I don't really expect that it would be a lot better for them to go for the Catherine. Samuel Vox, this is what I mentioned. Dynasty are trying to go for a siege turret heavy comp where they can go up to lane, constantly poke at the Celeste, constantly sustain with the Lyra until they get a kill or get the turret or get a huge advantage somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to be an interesting one because it feels like both of these compositions are very strong in their own right, but two very different styles of gameplay coming out from these teams. So how are we expecting this game to play out? Because I feel like the goals of these two teams are very dramatically different.
I mean, Dynasty have a clear advantage up until level 8 for Celeste. If they go up to lane constantly and poke at her, try to get a lot of turret damage, they can get an early on advantage. But if Celeste gets to her level 8, Fnatic are going to be able to fight back. And as the time goes on and Catherine scales, their composition will get stronger.
Yeah, the early game is definitely going to be in Dynasty's favor, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because obviously early on, normally if you look at a Celeste Glaive, you think, okay, that's the early advantage there, but for that to work out, they have to make those rotations up into the lane and make those ganks happen. But Dynasty, if they just send the Samuel up there and have their three-man's team up in the lane as well, that all of a sudden becomes extremely difficult and now puts Glaive in a vulnerable position as well when he tries to go in. So it kind of counters what the Glaive is going to want to do early on, but once you get to the mid to late game, that's when things are going to get really interesting. The early game of this one is probably going to end up actually being surprisingly passive for this update.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, every time I see a Celeste, I start to expect that whoever is on the Celeste team wants to play super passive in the early game, wants to get to that late game Celeste style. And if you're playing passive, then it's much more difficult for your opponent to make.
And we saw this strategy yesterday where a Glaive composition gets picked up to counter the aggression coming from a sieging composition. Because if Glaive comes for a gank and he gets a kill, that denies the entire siege.
All right, well, we've got to get on into this one. It's time for game one of our second series. Hashtag Vainglory on Twitter to let us know who you're supporting. But it's time to pass it once again to Dowsey in the source for game number one.
Dynasty versus Fnatic here on the Halcyon Fold. Fnatic able to upset Mouse and now looking to try and make their way over to the finals to join SK to become Week 1's champions. But first they have to go through Dynasty here, and Dynasty, a team here, source that always excites me. What also excites me is level 1 fights. Let's go, baby. Rickomeza, he's in a lot of trouble. Can he survive? No, I don't think he can. Looking for a kill onto Net. The fight ongoing. It's on all fronts. Riku's still alive. He's almost killed Rickomeza. In fact, never mind. That is first blood going over to Net. Mowgli says, we need to get one of our own. Net's got one. I want one. And he takes down Pamatoro as well. So 1-for-1 trades to start off this game. And I think that should be it as far as skirmishing is concerned, though. Dynasty looking to try and steal away this front treant. Techno JJ doesn't want to allow it to happen, but it is going to go over to PTM nonetheless.
For a minute there, I thought Dynasty was going to back up and walk away from that, but good secure by Mowgli to use the Imperial Sigil to finish that off. But that was such a crazy level 1 team fight. I was like side watching what was going on with Rickomeza and Netelet, and it was just hilarious watching. Like, I thought Rickomeza was going to win that, and it's just like, no, I'm a Catherine. I decide to stun you and you lose.
The one thing about Samuel is he's super strong come level 2. Once that Drifting Dark is there to empower the Malice and Verdicts, it would have been a completely different story if Net2Let was looking to try and do the same. Look at this, Fnatic all grouped up in the lane, looking to try and find a kill onto one of these players. TechnoJJ taking a lot of damage. Fnatic going to reveal themselves in lane, but nothing to come from it. Popping a minion candy so that they have a bit of map pressure here. And TechnoJJ can go back to base, get energy, health, and some extra items.
Yeah, and despite Net2Let getting that first blood, it is a little bit of a golden advantage for Dynasty. They were able to get a little bit of counter jungling in there, get that middle tree end, so they've managed to pick it up in experience in gold by just a little bit. I think that that's definitely good for them. You get the Samuel online faster once that Eve of Harvest comes in, they'll be more willing to fight. And then if maybe goes for a Frostburn, then it's just going to be really, really easy for them to kite out this glaive.
Very difficult for Dynasty, I think, with the composition they have to deal with Fnatic's Celeste in the late game. I've played against TechnoJJ's Celeste, and it is disastrous when you fall behind. He is so good at outputting damage, able to single-handedly carry a game. And I'm scared for Dynasty. If Fnatic keep themselves above water during the early game, then to take down TechnoJJ is going to be a very difficult task.
Yep, and we see Palmatora waiting around for a gank, wants to be able to get Celeste ahead, get TechnoJJ either space in the lane to farm, or be able to pick up a little bit of extra gold off of some of those kills. And for the moment, both teams are willing to back up and farm, and we do see this carry joining up with the jungler to be able to pick up that little bit of extra farm, that gold and experience.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly how this plays out, because clearly gold can only go to 2 of the people. PT Lamb only comes down for the secure, can't really get any of the gold from that. Fnatic, so much investment in protecting TechnoJJ, just lurking in the shadows. Well, someone oversteps the question, spotted out by a well-timed Sigil by Mowgli. That's going to allow Dynasty to aggress forward here. The jungle shop has spawned. Dynasty will likely look to try and take control of the area. Take control of the lane as well, just in case Fnatic were looking for some sort of team fight. At the moment, Palmatoro sitting, lurking, going to come on into lane, knock Mowgli under the turret, but he's going to be able to block up with that Crucible that he's earlier purchased. Provide a lot of healing as well with the extra health that gives him.
Yeah, it was also unfortunate timing. There were still a few minions under the towers, and they didn't get off those 1 or 2 power shots. Probably would have helped secure the kill. And now the siege begins for Dynasty, poking in, getting Net2Let very, very low. Those bounces also putting some pressure onto TechnoJJ. And Palmatoro's back, but it looked like Net2Let wanted to get out of there and head back to base. Shop Up has now popped the healing flask, so now looking to stick around, pick up a bit of a fight. Here it goes.
Very risky here, but Mowgli should just fall. Huge stun lock goes onto him, which means that he cannot use a Sigil to save his life. And Net2Let with this Catherine, once Palmatoro goes in for that afterburn, TechnoJJ and Net2Let, they have a stun of their own. They can really just lock someone up and cause them death. And I think this is why Mowgli's going towards a heavy healing build on this Lyra to try and prevent whoever does get unfortunately locked up in that CC from dying. Lyra certainly can provide a lot of burst healing if you stack enough health. And so this triple CC threat that Fnatic have drafted needs to be dealt with in one of 2 ways. Reflex blocks or a lot of burst healing.
Yeah, they also have a lot of general self-sustain out of Ricky Meza on the Samuel, so it's possible that they look for this massive healing strategy, where eventually there's a break point, a lull in the damage, the crowd control is used, and Dynasty is able to heal through everything that Fnatic throws out. Unfortunately, that will not happen with Mowgli.
Oh, Mowgli just gets completely deleted, but PT Lamb's looking for a kill of his own. Fountain will be used by Net2Let to keep Palmatoro alive in this scenario. And Dynasty have to be a little bit careful, I feel. Palmatoro, 4 seconds from that afterburn. PT Lamb going to be aggressed on by Net2Let. The stun connects. Palmatoro dives on in. The core collapse. He's stunned and he's dead. There's that triple CC threat. The worst part of it all, PT Lamb, I think, may have had himself a reflex block. Not sure if he just purchased it now. If he did have it up, then that's an issue.
Yeah, that's minor mechanical mistake, but it is starting to chain in some of those deaths for the side of Dynasty, and Fnatic, they're starting to get into the pace of what their composition wants to do. The more that this glaive, that Palmatoro is able to, make these early kills happen, that's going to set Techno JJ ahead. And once, you've got a Celeste who's super, super far ahead, it's going to be very, very difficult for the side of Dynasty to be able to set up their siege. And then what does their composition really do beyond that?
Currently, they're struggling, Mouse, here. They're going to continue to try and pressure with Rukumeza on this. Samuel has so much early game and mid game power, but Fnatic's continuous jumps on ins with their high CC composition providing too much threat. Good Crucible survives Rukumeza, but never mind, he goes down. Solar Storm rips through, and Netolet going to return some damage as well. 5-1, Fnatic are stomping on Dynasty at this point.
Yeah, and there just doesn't seem to be a lot that Dynasty can do. It's a very casual way that Fnatic is managing to pick up these kills. It's just one CC lands and then another, and then what does Dynasty really, do to step up and prevent that? They are getting a little bit of the siege in here. They should be able to pick up this turret. I think they'll get it, but they might cost them.
They're going to lose their lives for a PT Lamb. Doesn't even get the turret. The shield respawns too quickly, and Mowgli, he will just about escape, but it's desperation from Dynasty at this point to get gold back on the board, and it's not coming through. Fnatic now with a great opportunity to just move up themselves and look for a turret of their own. Rukumeza able to thwart back to too much of an attack. Netolet will be able to survive the harassment that Rukumeza wanted to output. Currently, Fnatic very tempered in their aggression.
Yeah, they're willing to take their time, but it's not as much of it's a massive gold deficit that Dynasty has to overcome, but they have to, stop the rate of decay of their strategy. They, are going to manage to get this turret, but the gold is starting to, come back in favor of Fnatic. These kills have just chained one after another, and it doesn't seem as if Dynasty really has a plan for how they want to handle these engagements.
Not only do they not have a plan, it seems like they just don't have the damage either. We all know that Celeste outranges Vox, now level 8. The Helogenesis going to do so much work, and it's almost on the back of Rukumeza to be able to poke down from the range that he has when his empowered Malice and Verdicts are active. Really put Fnatic in a position that they can't afford to engage a fight. Otherwise, it almost seems like a rinse and repeat for Fnatic every time.
Yeah, and wait for it is going to be popped. PT Line will back up, but takes massive damage. And we're looking at some of the item differences here. Techno JJ is doing huge damage with this triple item spike.
So huge!
Well,
so much damage. He doesn't even have that third item. It's just a piercing shard at this time. Mowgli will dive on in. Maybe this is it. Oblivion will be blocked up. Netolet with the silence only onto PT Lamb. Rukumeza not where he wants to be, gets deleted. And now Dynasty once more trying to run, but PT Lamb cannot. A double for Techno JJ. Mowgli last man standing. Fnatic should take this turret.
Yeah, great play there. Oh, Mowgli.
Oh no, he is in trouble, and he is dead. Ace. The ace will come through at the last second, and this pretty much means that Fnatic can get 2 turrets off the bat of this. That is not what Dynasty needed.
Yeah, they had pressure control over this game, map control. Despite that turret going down, they were really dictating the pace of what was going on in the lane. God, Techno JJ is throwing up massive damage with that 2.5 items, not a full third. And we compare that to what's up, what Rukumeza hasn't managed to finish out that broken myth. Doesn't have the Eve of Harvest, so is lacking. Granted Samuel has some sustain, but lacking that kind of massive sustain in the middle of those team fights that you can get out of a Samuel. And, PT Lamb is a little bit ahead of Palmatoro, but Palmatoro's job isn't to do massive damage. It's to CC, get some burst out, and let Techno JJ finish the job.
And he will do massive damage nonetheless, just because of the fact that he's a glaive. If he gets onto a squishy target like Rukumeza, then he is going to just tear through him. Well, whenever there's no defensives, Glaive is going to have a field day, and it's not like Rukumeza is going to be building any armor anytime soon. Dynasty in a whole lot of trouble. Techno JJ Celeste is just too strong. It's one of the things that Fnatic can really rely on, is the fact that with this CP mage meta, Techno JJ is going to carry.
Yep, the broken myth is in, and they should be able to find a good engagement out of this. But Techno JJ being the first one to walk in is not ideal.
Netolet should be able to lead the charge, but this time Dynasty able to keep their distance. Instead, Fnatic, what they can do is they can just bait fights. They can move to this gold miner, start it up if they want to, force Dynasty to engage onto them, and then just do it all over and over again. It's all about vision control for the team. It's all about finding out where Mowgli is, where the rest of the players are. That Treant gonna go over to Palmatoro, and Fnatic will just do that. Start up this gold miner and say, hey, Dynasty, where you at? You want to stop this?
Yeah, I mean, Dynasty is very wary of all of their positioning. They weren't even willing to try and fight for that Treant from over a wall, because just an afterburn and Palmatoro managing to get that stun could set Techno JJ up for some long-range damage. So we can see how much Dynasty need to rethink the pace of how they want to handle this game. They can't really hard engage. They need to start setting up a siege again, but they're going to have to do it very, very carefully, because Palmatoro is more than willing to flank with Netilette, and that's just so much crowd control that will come in onto, you know, PT Lamb or even Mowgli. They're more than happy to just burn through the Lyra.
PT Lamb, full damage build, will very unlikely build anymore. Very hard for the Vox to justify going in 4 damage items when Palmatoro is able to output so much damage. Techno JJ able to output so much damage with their hero selection. Rikumeza has that broken myth, which is kind of a silver lining, but without an Eve of Harvest, he's not going to have the energy to be in long sustained fights, unlike Techno JJ, who isn't too far off completing his clockwork, just needs another couple hundred gold before he's at that 4 damage item spike. 13 minutes in here, Sourcin, and Dynasty are really desperately looking for a window into this game, but Fnatic not really looking to give it to them.
Yeah, it feels like Dynasty didn't really get to play their game. They didn't get to play their composition. The moment that they were looking to kind of set up that siege, yes, they got that first turret. The moment that started happening, you know, Palmatoro started to show up, and the damage is going to start to come in onto PT Land. Nice little bit of kiting away by Dynasty, but they still need to be worried about the hard engage.
Yeah, certainly do. There's so much CC. In fact, Mowgli's going to go on in. That's going to be the Oblivion blocked up. PT Lamb being super aggressive, but he gets stunned up against the wall. Techno JJ, he's fine, will survive, and Palmatoro will take down PT Lamb. Now it's all on Rikumeza and Mowgli to survive. Going to try and speed them away. Good slows coming through, but the stun connects onto Rikumeza, and that's him in trouble. Finds one, not going to find the other. Palmatoro will get the kill. The Drifting Dark goes too far away. And it is a win for Fnatic, I guess you could say, for Dynasty. That single kill onto Techno JJ is almost a saving grace.
Yeah, they got the consolation prize in the kill onto Techno JJ, but, you know, it's getting really, really difficult for the side of Dynasty to actually land that damage. Every time they try and go forward, there's too many bodies in the way. Netilette and Palmatoro are standing in the way of that Samuel damage, and we saw how low Techno JJ got. PT Lem was willing to dive that far, you know, into enemy territory to almost get that kill. And if a little bit of that Samuel damage had come through, if a few Malice and Verdicts had landed, maybe they actually turned that fight around. So I definitely give Dynasty props for being willing to take that engagement, but they're going to need to find either better angles on it, or they're going to need to take the fight in a better position or portion of the map.
Currently, Kraken on the map. Fnatic just going to start it up like they did that gold miner. Once more, baiting the side of Dynasty to come to them. Mowgli has been spotted. Fnatic now a little bit more cautious in their take of this Kraken. Does look like they are going to stop it up, not damage any further, and wait for Dynasty to reveal their plan here. Fnatic now have an opportunity to move on in. Netilette just providing a brick wall. Techno JJ is going to start stacking up some damage here. Needs to get into range, clear this wave. Netilette looking to dive on in as Mowgli stunned up here. Going to throw out that silence, and it is going to connect onto 2, but Fnatic are able to disengage it. Very content to just walk away when Itilam lands that wait for it. Now the fight's been reset here. Rikumeza trying to get some broken myth stacks, but you can just see that Dynasty are so cautious of getting into a position where Fnatic might be able to turn the fight onto them.
Yeah, they need to have full vision of all the members of Fnatic as they kind of set up their team fight. They want to poke, they want to siege, they want, Palmatoro to have already dove forward, Netelet to have burned the Merciless Pursuit, have some of that crowd control out of the way before they're willing to fully engage. That, or they need to land a really, really good Oblivion, but we've seen how well the Crucibles have been from the side of Fnatic, so it's going to be, a challenge for Rikimeza to make that happen, but some damage is coming in. Ooh.
Just slowing Rikimeza down, the War Tread's forced out of Mowgli to get the whole team to safety. With War Treads gone, Fnatic might just feel comfortable enough to start this cracking up. Kind of the win condition of the Dynasty composition is the ability to get PT Lamb onto Techno JJ. The whole team past the front line, and look about the Kraken is just melting away. Not even contested by Dynasty. They try to push the lane up, but there she is, unleashed onto the Halcyon fold. Fnatic now going to round around, clear this wave, and look to push into the base of Dynasty.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Dynasty knew that that was happening. They were kind of positioned up towards the lane. Maybe they were willing to give that up, but you have to be worried about getting flanked like that. Ooh, PT Lamb is in a sneaky position.
Needs to move in, onto Techno JJ, stop him up. Here comes the silence. Can't quite get into range. Huge Solar Storm. Oblivion though. Oh, a Madison Verdi connects. Rikimeza able to snipe. Techno JJ down, but it's Palmatoro time. Maybe not. Techno JJ, PT Lamb will be able to take the kill. Mowgli, in fact, able to snipe it away with the Lyra. That flank there from PT Lamb successful, but that's a once-in-a-game type thing. It will be able to stop the Kraken up, but she might just secure a single turret here, break over the base of Dynasty.
Well, it does give Dynasty back a little bit of momentum and probably some confidence. Being able to take a play like that, finally managing to slow down your opponent, who's pretty much had no issues throughout the majority of this game. That kind of play we see here in the replay. They do manage to get the core collapse onto the Lyra, and I really thought that PT Lamb was going to go down, but we finally start to see that Dynasty can come at things from multiple angles. They basically surround their opponents. They have a lot of skill shot, a lot of poke. They're able to thread that through the the upfront tank line that is Fnatic, and finally manage to make something happen.
And because of the fact that PT Lamb needs to be the almost assassination threat onto Techno JJ that allows Rikimeza the opportunity to thread needles and position with the Drifting Dark. There's going to be a fourth item coming through for PT Lamb. Has that crit already in his inventory. The Lucky Strike, we'll have to see if he builds it into a Monocool or a Tornado Trigger. May go for the triple attack speed depending on how much he feels he needs to get the auto attacks off. Techno JJ is going to be investing in some armor to try and prevent this crit from being effective, which means that Rikimeza, his Malice and Verdicts are going to do a lot of damage. If he gets Broken Myth stacked up, then he certainly can do a lot here. Mowgli, will he go for the re-engage is the question. It's an item silence blocked on up. It's Oblivion landing onto Techno JJ. Rikimeza currently just trying to escape, get stunned up. PT Lamb moving forward, the Solar Storm will connect, but it's not that much damage. Only 3 Broken Myth stacks here, and Dynasty, they could look to turn this fight back on its head. If they could just get into range, they might be able to do so. It's all on Rikimeza and PT Lamb to deal out the damage onto Techno JJ, who is currently doing okay to hold them back, but it's 9 Broken Myth stacks on Rikimeza. Fnatic respectfully realizing that this is not a fight they can win. They're going to backport. The fight has been reset.
Oh, that was probably the best team fighting. Just the general, mechanical skill, good decision making, good positioning we've seen out of Dynasty this game. And that, just the fact that the Oblivion landed onto Techno JJ really set up what could have been an amazing team fight, because there was all of that time in which Celeste isn't doing damage, isn't building stacks, isn't putting pressure, and we could see how much kiting potential there is out of PT Lamb and Rikimeza.
Okay. Now that we've seen that Dynasty can team fight in such a way that's successful, will they be able to do again? Oh dear, maybe not. Rikimeza's in trouble. Solar Storm's going to come through, but he's able to dodge it. Now starting to get some of this healing from Mowgli. Mowgli, he needs some cooldown reduction, only that contraption to provide it. Not really allowing for the burst heals to come through. Maybe going towards an echo for it. Going to be the Oblivion going through. 2 put to sleep. Netelet misses the Crucible. What can Dynasty do with it is the question. Rukumeza, 3 broken myth stacks, and Techno JJ starting to force everyone back. Mowgli wants to get in position. The Kraken, she's still active, whacking away at Techno JJ, but Mowgli's in so much trouble. He's going to use that healing to try and escape, but PT Lamb's going to knock him away. Rukumeza has to re-engage, has to lay down the damage. It's a lot of damage. It's going to be Palmatora going down. Net2let, a double. Can Techno JJ save the fight? Rukumeza looking to try and keep it alive. He will fall down, and Techno JJ will walk away alive as well. Going to be able to get the backport off, it seems. I don't think PT Lamb will find him. Dynasty surviving, Techno JJ escaping. Will they try up the Kraken? They will. This is going to be a risky move, I think, for Dynasty.
Yeah, how far they were willing to go forward for that. It looked like Palmatora had set up just one more kill, but nobody was looking at PT Land. He was getting massive damage in there. And Mouse and Berzik and Rukumeza were firing out, and they were getting the type of team fight that they need. It's a fight that's kind of on the run, that seesaws back and forth a lot. The Kraken has been started up, and Techno JJ is looking to fight this. The core collapse is going to miss.
Techno JJ's in a bit of trouble here. I think PT Lamb should be able to get the kill. Looks like he's going to be able to. Yes, he does. The ace comes through just as Net2let respawns in Palmatoro. Kraken going to be restarted here. Rukumeza hasn't spawned yet. This is still risky from Dynasty. Maybe with Techno JJ down, they feel more comfortable going for this Kraken. But Palmatoro, he is a Kraken stealing machine on this glaive. So much burst damage comes out from his afterburn auto attack combination, and it's going to have to be a bright bulwark and a lot of aggression, I think, coming out of Dynasty, or at least threatened aggression out of Rukumeza and PT Lamb to keep Palmatora off this. Bright bulwark goes down, the Oblivion will fall as well, and the Kraken will be unleashed for Dynasty. They are making this work at the moment, Source, and now a Kraken is on the Halcyon Fold for them.
Yeah, and an item change, getting rid of the crit, and has gone for a Bonesaw. PT Lamb is at that 4 damage items, pretty much full build. Will just be picking up an infusion to top off that damage. So Palmatora in a little bit of trouble. Can't be eating up those stacks like before. Same with Net2let.
And the Bonesaw coming through for PT Lamb is so clever as well. He started with crit, he forced Techno JJ to build armor, and then he gets himself a Bonesaw to shred that armor, making the armor almost useless for Techno JJ. And it's only going to be good for Rukumeza, because he's going to be able to output so much damage on this Samuel with the broken myth stacking up. Very clever itemization from Dynasty. It's giving them opportunities onto Techno JJ. Only a single turret won with that Kraken, but Dynasty showing hope in this game.
Yeah, they do need to be worried that one big team fight could be the end for them. They can't get overconfident because they've been able to find the right team fights. The first one was pretty much of their own making. The second one was a little bit of over-aggression by Fnatic. So maybe Fnatic can temper some of these plays. They are, still looking for opportunities, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they need to not be forcing opportunities where they aren't, where they don't exist. They need to make sure that Techno JJ is building up stacks, is laying down this heliogenesis, because in the last few fights we haven't really seen that. It's been kind of these, instant burst engages, and the core collapses have been missing. The core collapse misses, that slows down Techno JJ's ability to build up stacks, and it also stops that initial burst that was what let them get the lead in the first place.
Because Net2let has himself a Norwave Gauntlet, we're seeing Mowgli going to be building himself up an Aegis. The reflex block is there to block up the Norwave Gauntlet item silence, since he has only activatables in his inventory. Contraption, Crucible, War Treads Fountain, and now an Aegis with the Echo. 6 activatables. A well-timed Norwave Gauntlet from Net2let shuts down Mowgli's ability to carry his team through items heavily. Rukumeza going to pick himself up that Eve of Harvest, but PT Lamb has been knocked in his side. Gonna throw out, the Oblivion blocked up. Net2let moving on in, the item silence. Has it gone out yet? I haven't seen. Yes, it did. It was blocked successfully by Mowgli, and the team fight once more will be reset. Fountain still intact for both these captains, but not much else left for the side of Dynasty.
Yeah, a lot of major cooldowns used. Arcane Passage, the only ultimate still up for the side of Dynasty. There's still the Solar Storm on Techno JJ, but that's really kind of, a mid-team fight executing spell. Nothing that is really going to allow either team to heavily engage for the moment. So I think things slow down a little bit unless Dynasty feels confident they can take this fight. Here come the slows.
Bows are coming out. Mowgli should be able to escape them. I think now that the Aegis has been completed for Mowgli, Net2Let would do well to sub out that No Wave Gauntlet for an Echo. Look for the double blast tremor because silencing up could be huge. Either way, here comes that portal. Look at PT Lamb, so aggressive but stunned up. Damage coming out of Rukumeza, looking for the damage. They've taken down one, but PT Lamb dies. Can Rukumeza get away is the question. Pops the boots, trying to escape Palmatoro. Palmatoro looking for the damage, but first heal comes through. Net2Let on the front line. 9 broken myth stacks for Rukumeza, looking to lay down so much hurt. And Fnatic, they're looking to escape as well. Net2Let may not be able to. Rukumeza laying down the pain train, but can't quite find the kills. It's a single death, both carries dead. How do Dynasty react?
PT Lamb has been so good about getting into the backline and finding these, basically these really forced flanks onto Techno JJ. Maybe that was just, a difficult place for them to fight. They were fighting down in the corridor. It's pretty much a line. They're gonna be, Rukumeza is gonna be able to land, pretty good skill shots now that he's gotten that full build. At least in terms of actually no, he's going for a 4th damage item. So wow. Not finished hitting hard yet. Rukumeza might actually. What would you end up going for there? Would you go for the Shadow Glass?
Yeah, I think it has to be Shadow Glass. I don't know what else you could build. Maybe Broken Myth, a second Broken Myth for the Aegis. You see that Techno JJ now has an Aegis. He sold his armor for shielding. The back and forth of these items on the carries are incredible. I wouldn't be surprised if PT Lamb finds a bit of gold and subs out for a Monaco or a Tornado Trigger and goes, you know what? Now I'm going to hurt you even more so, but maybe Rukumeza goes towards another piercing shard. Let's have another fight. PT Lamb in a bit of trouble, looking to try and escape, but he is in so much trouble. He is straight up dead. Rukumeza, he's going to be knocked back. Team fight not going well for Dynasty, but a huge heal comes through from Mowgli to keep Rukumeza alive. The double kill is there for Techno JJ. Their death timers are devastating for Dynasty. Fnatic looking like they want to push the lane.
PT Lamb was all about the cheeky plays, all about sneaking behind the back line, and that time Fnatic read the play, instantly got the core collapse down, and that's really gonna start to, become a problem if they don't manage to make this defense. The death timers aren't super long. They didn't manage to get the ace. Rukumeza might be able to clear this out. I think they lose at least one of these turrets, and the Oblivion is used, and that's a problem.
Yeah, the Oblivion used to try and clear the way, but the turrets, they're going to fall nonetheless. PT Lamb's back up. It's all on PT Lamb to get onto Techno JJ and stop this from being game over. 1 kill may go over. No kills before the Vein Crystal falls. Fnatic, they do it. Dynasty drop a single team fight in the late game, and that was their demise. That was their win condition, to keep winning team fights, or else it was game over and a Fnatic win.
Fnatic managed to get the early lead, lose things in the mid game, and managed to pull it back and let's throw things back over to Munchable.